My name is Smita Singhal, and I produce drinking water out of sewage, not out of rainwater, not out of even thin air, or even the ocean for that matter, which a lot of people are trying to do right now. I'm sure there are a lot of people here who have pretty much turned up their noses by now, or maybe would have said like, "Oh my God, wow, she's doing that." I'm gonna go with the first one. I'm not sure. But let me tell you this, that the current scenario of how the Earth is currently retaliating, with all the ice cap melting and the floods and the storms, and one would really think, practically, so, it should increase the groundwater level, but actually that's not what's happening. All that water is actually going into your drains, or it is going into some sort of an empty space where it is getting mixed up with, bleached gluten ridden soil, and thereby making it unfit to use. So all that water that is coming excessively, even though it's a big catastrophe, is actually going nowhere. So excessive rains, floods, and a really bad sewer system is such a heady cocktail. And I learned this the very, very hard way. Because my family was getting sick. I have kids, and I couldn't understand where we were getting all these mysterious skin diseases from, having tummy aches, having unexplained weird situations, even though we were like not really eating out or whatever. And this heady cocktail is what we were actually consuming, which I got to know later, because it was being consumed either while bathing or cooking, or irrespective of having an RO at home, it didn't really matter. The smell from the showers was really foul, and right outside my home there was like excessive buildup of sewage water, because in the area that I live in, apparently every monsoon the sewage line and that of the municipal line used to kind of overlap, therefore by coming to our pipelines. And of course, if I want to keep up the immunity of my family, I have to keep cleaning it. I had to keep kind of um, updating the membranes on my RO system as well. And this was just really getting crazy. So, so this was getting, the beginning of a very expensive affair, and this was happening year on end. And, the governing bodies, authority bodies were really couldn't do much about it. And so the best way we thought is, sewage is getting bad press, so that is getting bad press. So what we thought is, let's make the villain a hero. So because it had a lot of character, and it was available plenty, and it would never end or dissipate or ever getting stick. So till we have humans on the earth, people like us, sewage is never going to be a problem. Namely, sewage is 90% liquid and 10% solid. So this is like a perfect blend, and it's gold for me. Sorry about the clock. We took this gold, we worked on it for a year and a half, and after various experiments and tests, we were ready with it, and we achieved almost all that we had set up to be. Sewage being converted into drinking water, and nothing less than WHO standard water, because otherwise it would really not be fruitful enough, or BIS standards for that matter, as far as Indian drinking water is concerned. And of course, we had to have the best for this baby. So then we came to the point that, okay, phase one is done now. So now what next? How do we prove it to the world? How do we prove it that this can be used for masses? Because a lot of innovations on an average are either good on paper or they're good in lab. But when it gets onto mass trials, it mostly fails. So we managed to set up a spot in one of the plants in Keshapur, which is an already running sewage treatment plant. And we asked them to give us 100,000 liters of sewage to show them some magic. And we told them that we're going to set it up for free. We're not going to ask you to pay for it, because we wanted a place to kind of where we can showcase this technology, and some place where we would have a lot of visitors coming in. And of course, hell, who doesn't like free stuff, right? So they agreed, and it worked. It would be, and more importantly, they also agreed because it would be a feather in their cap, where they're kind of getting, adopting new technologies. And of course, for us, that would be our first mover advantage. So it was a win-win situation. So we erected, we installed, we commissioned 100,000 liter plant where it was being treated, sewage was being treated, 400,000 liters, and we converted that into 85,000 liters of drinking water. And this is all without the use of chemicals, purely organic, right? So that's when we got the wow. We saw the potential, we saw the market, we saw the future, and we didn't need a crystal ball or an astrologer to tell us that this works. So that is when my story as a green entrepreneur started, and or more what I call myself, or I would like to call myself, a water warrior. Success was swift in terms of awareness levels, but somehow, as one would expect, that people would be lining up and, why have you not become a billionaire by now? I keep getting these questions, but it was quite the opposite, sadly, in the beginning. But there is a positive. I'm coming to that. I was getting, it was very challenging. It was very disheartening, and it almost didn't seem like this was all worth worth it, basically. And knowing that I had a proven solution, knowing that it met all the parameters, and I had no one coming and asking for it post that big launch, where Mr. Arun Kejriwal had drank the water, and so did everybody else, and he's okay. So it didn't matter for them. It was more like, how are you expecting us to drink water which comes out of sewage? So after several attempts at trying to convince potential clients, we were also asked several questions about, can this water be used for anything else other than consumption, human consumption? So that's when, all the factors of river rejuvenation, groundwater rejuvenation, toilet flushing, agriculture, horticulture, everything, basically 70% of water could be substituted, which is not for human consumption. If anybody does eventually want to use it for that, then that comes to the next phase. So we were like, yes, of course it can, because that's what we call a first level of filtration. And we were one day told by a government official, very candidly and very boldly, and saying that that it would take you a lifetime to convince 1.3 billion people in this country to drink water coming out of their toilets. So either you come up with this good strategy or a different strategy, or please stop wasting people's time. So that's when everything changed. The focus changed, the marketing tools changed, the business strategy changed, my own thinking changed. And it basically came to the point that, okay, fine, you don't want to drink it, don't drink it. Let's substitute it for everything else, which is from maintenance to washing to laundry to toilet flushing to horticulture for, cities, and for agriculture as well, and for construction. Construction, there are also, and construction and agriculture are two spaces which basically do consume a lot of water. Like, literatures are in crores. The amount of money that would be saved, you could go on vacation 3 times a year, you could upgrade your vehicle, and because that's how much you would save. It's almost an 80-90% saving. And the main mission is that groundwater does not get extracted. It is zero groundwater extraction, and thereby keeping the levels up. More importantly, is treating sewage at source, rather than the current way of where it goes through your pipelines and it basically eventually gets dumped into the river. So for all practical purposes, it was a financial, an emotional, and environmental win. It worked, and basically you could see everybody could see the advantages of having the system, and almost immediately, be it government, be it institute, be it residential, and that's when everything started really becoming better. So now that I've talked about that story, just quickly I will come to the science part of it. It is basically, this technology imitates nature at its best. It's like when spring water, which is coming down from the hills, goes through this whole journey of gravel and stone and various little bits and bobs of what it goes by, and gives you really clear, sparkling drinking water. It's a very similar concept. And basically, nature by far is what I understand is the best teacher. It is the best balancer. And if there's any great honor to acknowledge nature, is to copy it. And the water that comes out of it is, we have 3 levels of filtration. So the first level is basically what we call a biofilter bed. And that water is really good enough for groundwater rejuvenation, for water, any water body rejuvenation, for agriculture. Then we have a second level of filtration where we bung in oxygen, O3 rather, again through a natural method, where the water is good enough for 70% of your usage, which is non-human consumption. And then we come to the human consumption part, again, which we have a membrane. So that's the advanced filtration system. And this membrane gives you water which is made great for cooking, bathing, and for drinking as well, of course. What makes it better? The biggest bet on this that anyone can take is that it is a water recovery plant from sewage that is done, water coming out without the use of chemicals, without the use of ROs. Thereby, the conversion is 100%, and for drinking water, it's 85%. And there's minimal electricity because everything's based and designed on gravity, so you save money there. That's part one of the ROI, by the way. There is no sludge which is created, so you don't have any sludge management whatsoever. You don't have to worry about that. It is the minimal operation and maintenance cost. So in the entire country, as far as sewage treatment plants are concerned, we are the cheapest. Only by the fact that the treated water comes out at almost 8 paise a liter, compared to the 2.5, 3 rupees a liter from other sewage treatment plants. There is no odor. You can literally walk through my plant and not smell, basically smell almost nothing. There is no noise because there are no pumps, there are no motors, there are only 2 submersible pumps. And of course, high return on investment, which I was talking about. And the biggest factor of reject management, which I had talked about earlier, is it comes out to be in the form of really high quality liquid form of non-chemical urea, which is amazing for it's a high grade fertilizer. Even when we replenish everything, the media is also really high grade fertilizer. So it also works for agriculture. So every little part of this plant is financially viable. You get a return on investment. You actually literally start making money the minute you commission the plant for you. And very, very importantly, you don't need any skilled labor. You don't need an educated person to run this. It is so simple to run that unskilled labor also can run it for you. We normally give 2 to 3 months of training once we install the plant. We also give the pollution control board certificates where the water is tested after the treated water comes out, so that the client, whoever is installing this, has pure and enough trust to know that whatever we're giving is pure and it's not overrated. So these distinct advantages, of course, make it completely sustainable. It makes it green, and the major chunk of the CO2 emissions is looked after. There is no other STP that does that right now. So it also helps in creating a positive and social responsibility among all who have adopted this technology. They like the idea of treating sewage in a green and organic manner without any wastage. Now, what does it do for the country? Because I believe obviously this has to have some massive goal or format in the for the country. Is that basically today in everybody's mind we're trying to figure out, okay, 2030 is coming up. We're going to be up by 416 million people. And where is this water going to come from? Currently, 21 major cities have grown the groundwater on which they're completely dependent on is dry. We have all heard stories of Chennai and Bangalore. And that's really, it's nuts. And almost about, I would say, 80% of the water that comes out of domestic sewage is going untreated. Again, getting into rivers and effluent is going there. So to top it all, there's no real proof of water disparity like people talk about it between rural and urban. Yet there is a fair chunk of the population that today does not have access to safe, clean drinking water. And they either have to travel really long distances to get even like 10 liters worth of a small bucket worth of 10 liters for a family of 4. And even that water is not, as per standards, it's not really great water, but it's okay for them and they make do. But that make do is what converts into diseases. It converts into TB, it converts into cancer, it converts into severe diarrhea, skin disfigurement, and they have to go right back to it because there is no other source of clean water. So, so that increases medical expenses for them, and it gets really, it becomes very difficult for them to live. So, even though we are considered to be a developing nation, if our population and our citizens cannot, get their fair share of clean air, water, and food, then we will soon be losing our biggest resource, and that is our people, that is our citizens, our population. And so with the odds stacked against that and the population and that of the environment, this technology kind of negates all those problems. Everything from treating sewage, which is the biggest problem right now. We're treating that. We're giving you something green. We're giving you something sustainable, and we're giving you something that is so important to live, and that is clean, safe water. So basically, those are the USPs and the advantage and the takeaways from most of this. And the only reason I can claim this today is that we have completed 14 installations since 2015. Sorry, from 2016. With the installed plants, we're currently treating about 6 to 8 million liters of sewage every day, which is thereby giving about 8 million people almost really good, 8 lakh people good, clean, safe water. So currently, that water is being treated for all purposes and even for consumption for that matter, and even for food industries, where drinking water level is given so that they come out with zero effluent, what we call zero effluent plants. This in itself reduces almost 60% of the freshwater usage, thereby resulting in decreased financial costs as well. This may seem like a really small number compared to the 1.3 billion. But as I believe that a small drop can really create a big ocean, and that's the goal, and that's the goal from where I come from. And for me, it is that the efforts are towards making sure that every household has a tap flowing with fresh water, clean water, and saving all our natural resources by reviving them and giving back their life and flow, which are predominantly our rivers, which are our main source of water. And we thank nature daily, and we give it back threefold. So, so from the way in terms of governments or in terms of citizens, my call to action is definitely that we're targeting smart city projects, we're targeting government schemes, water saving activities, residential societies, hospitals, commercial hubs, wherever water is needed, basically. And we seek cooperation also from citizens, mostly like people like you, people like from Hansraj and all that are here, where we can also help to get the government to draft policies which comprise of green decentralized wastewater systems, rather than having one big plant where they may be serving a large population, but if that something gets screwed up in that plant, then that nothing they get nothing at the end of it. So this is not just applicable in India; it is applicable anywhere in the world, any country, wherever there is polluted water, gray, brackish, chemical, effluent, polluted water. This technology can definitely treat it. I truly, truly believe in the young generation of today. Even after hearing Ulysses speak, my own two kids who are a part of this generation, and even though somewhere I may be wanting to leave a legacy, but I would really like to start for that now rather than for them to wait till I'm gone. To partner with me and to kind of take on the onus for the future generation that is yet to come, to basically create a community where we're able to give every citizen their right to clean, safe water. And I also believe a ripple effect of making one simple choice can create a big wave of change. So I'm really hoping that we can all be our own water warriors and start really looking after the water that we're consuming.